coffee near me. I'm Barbara Deeb, coming to you from Coffee and Eggs on Mount Victor Lane in Bowling Green, Kentucky. We're going to share some coffee, a conversation, and the passions of people who shape our lives, like this guy right here, multi-talented Chris Carmichael, musician, arranger, producer, performer. I mean, the list goes on and on. But thanks for being here, Chris.
It's a pleasure to be
Appreciate
here
it.
with you, Barb. Thanks
You have
for
such a,
asking.
you know, I was teasing you before we got started about calling your life enchanted and stopping short of charmed, but it does seem like along the way there have been those enchanted moments that kind of have brought you to where you are right now.
Well, I think that's fair to say. It seems like there have been a lot of lucky and factors involved in the fact that I ended up in doing what I do today. So kismet involved.
Yeah.
Perchance, I don't know.
I don't know, but you got to follow those things. So you were born with what people call perfect pitch. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
Well, it means if you asked me to shout out an A, I would go ah, and it would be, you'd go to the piano and go, wow, that's right, it is, you know.
Wow. So when this is okay. God-given, right? That's not something you can go and learn. So at what point did somebody say, listen to this kid, and it was when you were a kid, he's got perfect pitch?
I was actually auditioning for my teacher when my dad retired from the Air Force. My folks were from Bowling Green, so we moved back to his boyhood home on Chestnut Street, which was across the campus from where I ended up taking violin lessons from Betty Pease. And I was auditioning for her, and I played a piece, and she said, well, yeah, I will take you on, and then she brought out a piece of two-part Bach pieces for violin, and she started playing one of the lines, and I started singing the other part.
Oh, wow.
And
you're how old at this point?
I was 13.
13.
Mm-hmm. And so she said, well, I've never done that with a student before. Ah. And so that sort of began our musical relationship.
But she also said, you got to get a new violin.
She did say that. I was playing an instrument that was what she might have deemed somewhat of a toy. And it was an inferior instrument, but she told me she'd take me on with the caveat that I have to find a new instrument. So, which leads to somewhat of a bit of kismet and another one of those perhaps charmed moments that you had alluded to. I had gone home and told my dad, well, good news, you know, Mrs. Pease is going to take me as a student, but she says I'm going to have a new instrument, and which wasn't really welcome news, as you know, there were major renovations going on in the home.
Oh, expenses, yeah, low priority.
Money was probably tight for my dad at the time, and so he was like, well, we'll have to see about that. And in the course of an hour's time, he had, we together, as we were cleaning out the basement of our home on Chestnut Street, he had forgotten about an instrument that he had played for a summer when he took violin lessons from Weldon Hart at the training school, which was, they call College High. And my grandmother had put the instrument away for him shortly. He was probably 12 years old when he took his.
He did not pursue it.
He was a gifted musician, but he did not pursue the violin. He was gifted everything, gifted athlete. So he was more interested in pursuing athletic events and things like that. And so, but you know, he opened up the case, and there was this John Juzek violin made in the 20s, and one of his, I've been told by folks in the know, luthiers and such, that it's one of the finest examples of an instrument of his that they'd ever seen. So I took it up excitedly at my next lesson to Mrs. Pease, and she was very, very pleased to see that I had a great instrument to play on.
Okay, so you still have this instrument and still use it?
Still use it every day. I'll be using
it
it today after our interview.
Okay. Never a dull moment with Chris Carmichael. Thank you for joining us
My
on
pleasure.
Coffee Near Me. And you know you can keep the conversation going. And a special thanks to Coffee and Eggs here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I'm Barbara Deeb. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers.
Cheers.